I recall my grandparents taking me and feeding the ducks and going ice skating, and my dad piling us all in the family station wagon to go look at the deer. That's a generation of memories right there.
It was during World War II. My father was in the service, and he got to come home after I was born. There's a picture of him holding me in front of the Scott Fountain. And I was 2 or 3 months old, and I didn't see him again until I was 2, after the war was over.
So my mom was the first one in her family born here, and my dad immigrated here from Iraq. One of the things that he always did when somebody new came to this country was bring them to Belle Isle. So he just thought, you know, there was the zoo, there was the rowboats, there was the beach, there was the shelters, there was picnic areas, the golfing. He just wanted to show them the whole thing. And so we came here a lot with new families from the old country.
One of my probably vivid stories or memories of Belle Isle is walking through the conservatory with my grandmother and my parents. One of the things I remember the most as a kid was seeing the cactuses inside of there and being afraid of falling into the cactuses and getting hurt.
When thinking about what makes Belle Isle special, 2 words come to mind: midnight and dawn. It harkens back to the history of Belle Isle, knowing that it played such an essential role in the Underground Railroad. The slaves had their own language, and they knew that they had to get to midnight, Belle Isle, to see the dawn, Canada, in order to find the liberty and freedom that they so desperately pursued.
15 years ago, I was writing a paper for a history of landscape architecture class I took about Frederick Law Olmsted, and learned more about Belle Isle, and learned about the conservancies that had been formed in other cities that had Frederick Law Olmsted parks dating from the late 1800s. And I kind of had one of these moments where I thought, well, why don't we have this? Why don't we do this here? So that was what really spurred me on to form first the Belle Isle Women's Committee, and then we eventually merged several nonprofits to form the Belle Isle Conservancy 3 years ago. But the basic design and layout of the park is very much as Olmsted envisioned it back in the 1880s. And over the years, you know, there's buildings in that park that George Mason was a contemporary of Albert Kahn. We have the casino, built in 1907, and a casino is a gathering place. Only much later did it become a place in which you gambled. If you go to all these old parks, I know the one in Buffalo has a casino. I know some of the others that have buildings they call casinos, but it was a gathering place, and ours used to have a beautiful marble counter and a soda fountain, and I know people talk about getting ice cream and burgers at the casino back in the day.
We live in a high-rise on the river. From our living room, I look right out at Belle Isle. It's gorgeous during the day, and at night, the lights for the bridge are fabulous. I love to look at the greenery that we have now, and it's fall. The leaves begin to fall. And of course, that beautiful Detroit River, watching how the river changes, the moods of the river. So Belle Isle's just a part of me. I mean, I love it.
The giant slide is always one of my favorites. A lot of picnics on Belle Isle. I've raised my own children right next to the island, and running around the zoo, that whole platform there where the kids could go up on the wood and make a ton of noise and have a lot of fun. Belle Isle is something special.
If you want to go somewhere special and unique on Belle Isle, you have to go to the Scott Fountain. So you have to imagine that you've got these 2 skylines straddling the island. You're in international, dramatically flowing waters right there on Belle Isle Park, inspired by Frederick Law Olmsted, and then you're on this fountain, which is incredibly beautiful, both visually and symbolically.
I just love the whole riverfront, the waterfront. The island is part of that. I love the outdoors. I love the nature on the island. You're driving through downtown Detroit, and then you go to Belle Isle and you're in a whole new world.
There's so many things on that aisle. It gives you peace of mind. If you're stressed and you walk around, I don't think we realize how blessed we are to have that aisle. Because you can walk for your health, but you need to balance yourself. So you need to not only walk for your health, but have peace of mind. So that's what I get out of Belle Isle.
And to sit out at Sunset Point and watch the freighters go by, I think that's one of the coolest things about Belle Isle, is just sit on a bench, and when a freighter goes down the river, you are like 300 yards from it. If they're enormous, it's just amazing. You just can't do that somewhere else. So it's being able to enjoy the water, being able to enjoy the fresh air and the green, and to have other kind of cultural activities to do while you're there that really is, I think, what draws people to the park. The island itself is on the National Register of Historic Places. I mean, it's not just the empty land. It isn't a park. It is an island, and it should remain green space that people can just enjoy being outside you know, and not having all kinds of buildings and things crammed onto it. That's not how it was envisioned.
It's an important repository of historic and cultural traditions and memories that anchor people to this community. We know that parks around the country can only dream of the level of support that we have for Belle Isle Park. That's significant, and that's what makes Belle Isle special.